Hi, this is Rachel with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a Wrapit Loom bracelet with SilverSilk wire mesh. I love the Wrapit Loom for making wrapped beaded bracelets, but you can also incorporate chain into your bracelet designs using this loom. So today I'm using a special kind of chain. This is called SilverSilk wire mesh chain, and it's a durable, flexible knitted wire mesh, and it's made of gold-plated copper. And I'm going to show you how you can incorporate it into your Wrapit Loom bracelet designs. So I have my Wrapit Loom Professional Series Duo all set up and ready to go, and we have another video showing you exactly how to set up your loom, attaching your two tracks, and sizing your leather cord to your wrist, and fastening a button on one end, and how to knot your two Griffin silk threads to the top of the leather. And I am actually using Griffin silk size 2 in a garnet red color, and one little tip is I like to take a little piece of Scotch tape and tape my Griffin silk thread tail to the top of the loom over here just to get them out of the way, especially in the beginning when you're working really close to this end and you just don't want those tails getting in the way. So I'm about ready to begin, and I just want to show you when you receive your piece of SilverSilk wire mesh, the ends are cut, and what you want to do is make sure you have a really nice flush cut on the end of your wire mesh piece. So one thing I would recommend is having a pair of flush cutters handy, and basically you would just line up your piece in the jaws of the flush cutters and make a really straight, clean cut. And just cut off all those little pieces. And since this is a knitted wire mesh, you're going to have some extra little pieces coming off, so just take your flush cutters and just clip them away. And you should get a nice, clean, straight edge to begin doing your Wrapit Loom weaving. So let's begin. So just like most beaded pieces on the Wrapit Loom, I want to start with one bead in my first row and then gradually widen the leather cords apart by adding more beads per row. So I'm going to pick up one seed bead to start, and I'm using Toho 11-0 seed beads in this Galvanized Starlight gold color. And I'm going to take my second Griffin silk thread and cross the needle through the bead. And now when I pull, this bead is just going to sit between the leather cords, starting off the beaded section of the piece. And now I'm going to wrap my threads. So under the right side and out the top with one thread, and then under the left side and out the top with my second thread. All right, now I'm ready for row 2. So now I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads, slide them down, and cross the needle of my second thread through these 2 seed beads. And now these beads are just going to widen that piece a little bit more. All right, now I'm going to do my wraps. Under the bottom, out the top on one side. And under the bottom, out the top on the other side. All right, and at this point, I'm going to incorporate my SilverSilk wire mesh chain, because now the piece is just wide enough for it to sit in there nicely. So here's what you're going to do. Basically, this wire mesh chain has little holes going down both sides where the knit is a little bit open. So what you want to do is find the first hole on one side and just slide the attached needle from your Griffin silk up through that hole. And the silk in this size 2 should fit really easily through the weave of the SilverSilk mesh. All right, so that's one side. Now on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the needle of my Griffin silk and feed it up through that first opening in the knit of the SilverSilk. And pull that out. And now that is the beginning of the chain portion of your bracelet. So to continue attaching your wire mesh chain, we're going to do something a little bit differently than with most Wrapit Loom pieces. Instead of wrapping my threads around the leather cord between each stitch, I'm actually going to incorporate the wrapping into the stitching. So we're basically going to be using a version of whip stitch to keep attaching the wire mesh chain to the piece. So for the second wrap, I'm going to feed my needle up through the second little hole on one side of the wire mesh. It is quite tiny, but get your needle up through there and just pull your cord through. It's such a fine, dainty wire mesh chain, very delicate look. All right, and now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to take my needle, wrap around and under the leather cord, and out through the next hole of the wire mesh chain. I'm just being as careful as I can be to avoid harming the chain. So you're just going to keep doing that. Just take your needles and go down and around the bottom of the cord, the leather cord, and then up through the wire mesh, and keep whip stitching your wire mesh chain to the loomed piece, and I will see you back here to show you how to finish off the piece. All right, so now I've got my piece mostly finished. As you can see, I just did whip stitching along both sides of the SilverSilk wire mesh chain. And before I go on, I just want to show you a quick tip, because as you're working, it's hard to keep the tension of the Griffin silk. So as I work, I kind of just take my fingers and roll them along the outside of the leather cord. And this will have the effect of just tightening your Griffin silk thread. And then you can pull it and it'll be nice and tight. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more stitch on either side here. Same thing I've been doing, just getting my needle up through the adjacent hole. And it is very tiny. I definitely recommend, if you have any issues with working very close, that you use a magnifying glass or magnifying glasses. But the end result is just very delicate. Now one more on the other side. And about now, let's see, I have about ½ an inch left before I get to my knot. And I think now is when I'm going to want to cut the rest of my wire mesh chain off. So I'm going to take my flesh cutters and just sort of hold the tail. And let's see, I think I'm going to want to cut it about here. So I'm just going to clip off the rest of that chain. And there are some little extra wire bits on the end, so I'm just going to carefully clip them with the flush cutters. And you can just run your fingers along the end and the extra little wire pieces will come out of there. Okay, so I have about enough room to do one more quick stitch here. So again, I'll get my needle up through the next hole. And this will be the last stitch, so this will be kind of nice and secure. Good way to tie off the rest of that silver silk. And the last one on this side. All right, and now I'm just going to reorient my loom to do the last couple of seed beads here. So at this point, we're switching from the whip stitch that I used to attach the wire mesh chain back to the regular wrapping technique that we do with the Wrapit Loom. So I'm going to start by wrapping my threads around the leather. And I'm going to do that on both sides of the loom. So go under the leather, up through the center, and out the side. And now I'm going to do the opposite of what I did in the beginning, and I'm going to add 2 seed beads. So string them on one length of Griffin silk, cross your needle through the beads, and those beads are just going to sit nice and tight between the leather cords and just kind of have a nice polished way to cap off that wire mesh chain. So now again, I'm going to wrap my threads. Up and out. And now I'm going to add 1 seed bead. Cross my needle. And there you go. That is the end of the beaded section of this Wrapit Loom bracelet. You can go ahead and watch our other video on using the Wrapit Loom Pro for instructions on how to tie off your Griffin silk thread and finish your bracelet. But in this video, I just wanted to show you how to incorporate the SilverSilk wire mesh chain to switch it up from the beaded look of other Wrapit Loom bracelets. You can find all of these supplies at Beadaholique.com. Thanks so much for watching.